When a man loves you, let me tell you, it is not about the words he speaks, nor the gifts he gives. It is not the things he does that define his love, but the way in which he opens himself to you, to life, and to the vastness of your shared connection. Love, in its purest form, is not a mere feeling, it is the very act of being together in a state of total awareness, of knowing and not knowing, of holding both certainty and doubt in your hands without the need to control either. When a man loves you, he awakens, and in doing so, he awakens you. You see, love is not a singular event, it is an unfolding, a process of discovery. And in that discovery, there is no destination, no fixed point. Love is a journey, a dance between two souls. It is the understanding that in the presence of the other, you are not complete, but you are becoming. A man who loves you does not seek to possess you, but rather to join you on a path toward mutual growth. He doesn't need to change you, for he recognizes that your beauty lies in your authenticity. Love is not a simple, easily definable emotion. It is a vast and ever-changing force that pervades every aspect of existence, connecting us to one another and to the world around us in ways we may never fully understand. We often talk about love as if it is a feeling, something that can be measured or contained, but the truth is that love is much more than that. It is the very essence of our connection to life itself. Love is not about holding on or possessing, it is about experiencing the world and each other without limitations, without the fear of loss or the need for control. In its most profound sense, love is the realization that we are not isolated beings, but part of a greater interconnected whole. When we love, we are not merely giving something of ourselves, but opening ourselves to the vastness of the universe and the energy that flows through all things. This connection is not a fleeting moment, but an ongoing presence, a force that transcends time, space, and circumstance. Love is not about what we do for each other in the physical realm, but about the way we acknowledge the sacredness of each soul we encounter. It is the recognition of the divine spark within all living beings. True love does not demand that the other person be a certain way, nor does it expect that they will fulfill our every need. Instead, love is a celebration of the uniqueness of each individual. It is the deep understanding that we are all perfectly imperfect, and it is within that imperfection that the beauty of love can be fully realized. Love is about accepting the other person as they are, without trying to change them to fit an idealized image. It is about seeing the depth and complexity of their humanity, not just the surface traits that we often use to judge or categorize people. When we love, we embrace the entirety of a person, their light and their shadows, their strengths and their weaknesses, and we do so with reverence, knowing that each part of them is a part of us as well. The nature of love is not static, it is dynamic, evolving, and ever-changing. Just as we grow and change throughout our lives, so too does love. It is not something that remains fixed in one moment, but something that shifts and deepens with time. Love matures, it expands, and it moves through us in unexpected ways. There are moments when it feels intense and all-consuming, and others when it is quieter, more reflective, yet equally powerful. Love does not exist in one expression, but in many, and it is the richness of these expressions that gives love its true beauty. In this sense, love is not an external force, but an internal experience. It is not something that can be given or taken, but something that we open ourselves to. It requires vulnerability, for in loving we allow ourselves to be touched by the other, to be changed by them. We do not love because we need to, but because it is a natural state of being. Love flows through us when we let go of our fears, our desires, and our expectations, and simply allow ourselves to be present with the other person in their fullness. It is in this presence that love can flourish, not as an act of the mind, but as an expression of the heart and soul. Love is the force that connects us all. It is not just a feeling, but a way of being in the world, open, aware, and fully alive. It is in the nature of love that we find meaning, purpose, and the deepest connection to ourselves and to others. And when we allow love to flow freely, without restrictions or conditions, we experience the fullness of life itself. Love, when it is genuine and profound, serves as an awakening, a moment of clarity that reveals not only the other person, but also the very essence of who we are. It is an experience that transcends the surface, pushing us to look deeper into the mystery of our own being and the universe around us. Love is not just an emotion that we feel, but a process of discovery, both of the self and of the other, that unfolds in ways we could never fully predict or control. It awakens us to the infinite potential of who we might become, to the possibilities that lie within us and within the relationships we form. When love awakens, it challenges the very perceptions we hold about life, about ourselves, and about the world. It disrupts the comfort of routine, pulling us out of the familiar and into the unknown. In the presence of love, we are called to question what we have always assumed to be true, to look beyond the boundaries of our own limitations and fears, and to step into a deeper sense of connection. It is in love that we are invited to shed the false identities we have constructed, the masks we wear to protect ourselves, and to stand naked before the world not in weakness, but in a newfound strength that comes from embracing our vulnerability. Love is an awakening because it invites us to see with new eyes. It allows us to perceive the world not as it appears on the surface, but as it truly is, in all of its complexity and richness. In the presence of love, we are no longer focused solely on ourselves and our own needs, but we begin to see the interconnection of all things. We recognize that the boundaries we place between ourselves and others are illusions, and that at the deepest level we are all part of the same fabric. This awareness is transformative, for it removes the walls that keep us separated from one another and from the world around us. When love awakens, it breaks down the barriers we have erected and opens us to the infinite possibilities of compassion, understanding, and unity. As an awakening, love also forces us to confront our own limitations and to grow beyond them. It shines a light on the parts of ourselves that we may have hidden or neglected, the parts that are difficult to face but necessary for our evolution. In love, we are forced to reckon with our own imperfections, to see ourselves in the reflection of another's eyes, and to accept that growth is a continual process. Love, in its purest form, is not about perfection. It is about learning, expanding, and evolving in response to the challenges and joys that life presents. It asks us to be open to change, to let go of rigid ideas and expectations, and to embrace the fluid nature of human experience. In this awakening, love becomes the catalyst for transformation. It is through the deep connection we share with another that we come to know ourselves more fully. We are no longer isolated, but intertwined in a shared journey of discovery. The experience of love opens us to the mysteries of existence, to the vastness of the human heart, and to the understanding that we are all here to learn, to grow, and to awaken to our true potential. Love is not a destination, but a path, a constant unfolding of the self, a reminder that we are always in the process of becoming. Through love, we awaken to the truth that we are both part of something larger than ourselves and, at the same time, fully unique in our individual expression. It is through love that we come to see the world and ourselves as we were always meant to be seen in our fullest, most authentic light. The freedom of love lies not in the act of possession, but in the space it creates for both individuals to flourish as their truest selves. Love, at its core, is not about control or dependency, but about liberation. It is an experience that encourages growth, allows for change, and nurtures the individuality of each person involved. True love frees us from the confines of fear, expectation, and insecurity. It grants us the ability to be fully present with one another, not as someone we need to mold or fix, but as someone we accept in all their complexity, knowing that they are on their own unique journey of self-discovery. When love is free, it allows for the full expression of who we are. In relationships, we are often conditioned to fit certain roles, whether as a partner, a spouse, or a friend. We play these roles with expectations of what we should be or do, sometimes losing sight of the truth of who we are. Love, however, does not ask us to fit into a mold. It does not require us to meet the other person's needs or to adhere to predefined standards. Instead, it allows us to show up as we are, unguarded and unmasked. In this space, we are able to share our most authentic selves, our deepest desires, our fears, and our aspirations without the fear of judgment or rejection. Love encourages us to explore who we are beyond the roles we play, and it celebrates that discovery. This freedom is not limited to self-expression alone. It also includes the freedom to grow, to change, and to evolve. In love, we are not static beings, fixed in one place, one identity. Love recognizes that we are always in a process of becoming. It allows for the shifts that life inevitably brings, and rather than imposing restrictions on this growth, it nurtures it. Love gives us the freedom to change without fear that the relationship will crumble because of it. In fact, love thrives on change, for it understands that transformation is an essential part of life. A loving relationship supports each person's individual evolution, knowing that as one grows, the relationship itself evolves too. In this dynamic, love becomes a catalyst for mutual growth and transformation, rather than a force that binds or restricts. Furthermore, the freedom of love is a freedom from fear. Fear often stands as the greatest obstacle in relationships, whether it is the fear of loss, betrayal, or simply the fear of being vulnerable. But love, in its truest form, dispels these fears. It removes the need for control. For if we trust in love, we understand that it cannot be coerced or forced. Love exists in freedom. And in that freedom, we trust that it will endure because it is not bound by conditions or expectations. Love does not demand, it allows. It invites us to be free of the need to hold on to the other person tightly, because true love is secure enough to give space to breathe, to grow, and to explore. In this freedom, there is a deep sense of trust. Trust that the other person will honor your individuality, that they will allow you to grow, and that they will love you not because of who you are now, but because of who you are becoming. It is a mutual respect that acknowledges the other's freedom as much as your own, knowing that love is not about possession, but about standing together in mutual recognition of each other's worth and potential. It is in this freedom that love flourishes, unencumbered by the weight of expectation, and nourished by the space it creates for both partners to soar. Vulnerability, often perceived as a weakness or something to be avoided, is in fact one of the greatest strengths a person can possess, particularly in love. To be vulnerable is to allow ourselves to be seen for who we truly are, without the layers of protection, masks, or facades that we often present to the world. It is the courage to expose our innermost thoughts, feelings, fears, and desires, knowing that by doing so we risk the possibility of rejection or hurt. But in embracing vulnerability, we find a profound and transformative power, one that connects us deeply with others and with our own humanity. At the heart of vulnerability lies authenticity. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we stop pretending to be something we are not. We let go of the need to appear strong, invulnerable, or perfect. Instead, we show up as we are, imperfect, uncertain, and full of both light and shadow. This authenticity is not only a reflection of our true selves, but it also creates the space for others to do the same. In love, when we open ourselves up to the possibility of being seen in our most raw and unguarded state, we invite the other person to do the same. It is in this mutual vulnerability that true intimacy is formed, for it is only when we allow ourselves to be truly seen that we can truly see the other person in return. Vulnerability also fosters deep connection. In relationships, we often fear that showing our weaknesses will cause us to be judged, rejected, or abandoned. Yet it is precisely in sharing our vulnerabilities that we create the bonds that sustain love and understanding. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we reveal not only our fears and insecurities, but also our capacity for love, compassion, and empathy. It is through vulnerability that we show the depths of our care and commitment to another person. We give them access to the most tender parts of ourselves, and in doing so, we invite them into our world in a way that no superficial interaction ever could. This sharing of ourselves is what creates a lasting bond, built not on perfection or idealization, but on the truth of who we are and what we are willing to give. Moreover, vulnerability requires strength. It takes courage to let down our guard, to face our fears, and to trust another person with the most sensitive parts of ourselves. Vulnerability is not an act of weakness, it is an act of profound strength. It is the willingness to expose ourselves to the unknown, to face the possibility of hurt or disappointment, and yet to continue moving forward with openness and trust. By embracing vulnerability, we also invite growth. When we let go of the need to protect ourselves at all costs, we make room for transformation. In vulnerability, we are not defined by our past wounds or fears, but by our capacity to heal, to love, and to evolve. Ultimately, vulnerability is not just about revealing ourselves to others. It is also about accepting and embracing the parts of ourselves that we often seek to hide or deny. It is through vulnerability that we come to understand and integrate our full humanity. We learn that it is okay to be imperfect, to make mistakes, and to experience both pain and joy. Vulnerability teaches us that we do not need to be strong all the time, that it is okay to need others and to ask for help, and that love is not about being invincible, but about being present, open, and compassionate in the face of all that life brings. In love, vulnerability is a strength because it deepens connection, fosters trust, and opens the door to true intimacy. It is through our willingness to be vulnerable that we invite others into our hearts, and it is in this openness that we find the courage to love and be loved in return. Vulnerability is the key that unlocks the transformative power of love, for it is only when we allow ourselves to be seen in all our fullness that we can experience the depth of connection and the strength that love brings. Love, in its purest form, acts as a mirror, reflecting not only the beauty and light within us, but also the shadows we often try to hide. When we experience love, we are given the rare opportunity to see ourselves more clearly, to understand not just who we are in the present moment, but who we can become. A loving relationship reveals our deepest desires, our hidden fears, our flaws, and our strengths. It shows us the parts of ourselves we may not fully understand, yet it also invites us to embrace all of these aspects with compassion and grace. When someone loves us deeply, their affection and acceptance can reflect back to us our own worth. In the presence of their love, we see our own value not through external validation, but through the recognition of who we are as complete, multifaceted beings. This reflection is not always easy to face, for it exposes the parts of ourselves that we may not be comfortable with, the insecurities, the doubts, and the old wounds we carry. But love, in its most authentic form, does not shy away from these truths. It encourages us to face them head-on, knowing that through this process we will grow. In this sense, love becomes a mirror that challenges us to confront our past, our pain, and our potential. What makes love such a powerful mirror is its ability to show us both our light and our darkness. It reveals the parts of ourselves that are radiant, our kindness, our creativity, our resilience, but it also forces us to acknowledge the areas where we are broken, where we fall short, or where we resist change. A true, unconditional love does not reject these flaws. Instead, it holds them in the same space as our virtues, reminding us that both are part of who we are. Love invites us to accept ourselves as whole, not perfect, and to understand that growth comes not from denying our flaws, but from embracing them and using them as a foundation for transformation. In relationships, love's reflection also shows us how we interact with others in the world. It reveals patterns in our behavior, our tendencies to withdraw, to control, to cling, or to run away, and asks us to question whether these patterns are serving us or keeping us stuck. In the eyes of someone who loves us, we see not just the person we are, but the person we have the potential to be. Love reflects back to us the ways in which we can improve, the areas in which we can heal, and the opportunities for us to become more compassionate, open, and vulnerable. It helps us understand that love is not just about what we receive, but about what we give, and the ways in which we can cultivate deeper, more meaningful connections. But perhaps the most profound aspect of love as a mirror is its ability to show us our capacity for change. When we love deeply and allow ourselves to be loved, we become more attuned to our own evolution. Love helps us recognize that we are always in the process of becoming, that our past does not define us, and that we can continually reinvent ourselves. In the mirror of love, we can see the person we are today and the person we can grow into tomorrow. Love encourages this transformation, gently guiding us to shed the old layers of who we once were and to embrace the new possibilities that await. Through love, we discover the power of change, and in that change, we uncover the deepest truths about who we are meant to be. In the end, love is not merely an emotion or a fleeting feeling, it is a profound force that shapes our lives and reveals our truest selves. It awakens us to the beauty and complexity of the world, inviting us to grow and evolve beyond the limits we impose on ourselves. Love is a space of freedom, where we are free to be who we are without fear of judgment or rejection. And it teaches us that the truest form of connection comes when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and open. It mirrors us, reflecting both our light and our shadows, offering us a chance to understand ourselves more deeply and to become better versions of who we were always meant to be. Love is not about possession, nor is it about controlling the other person. It is about recognizing that each person is a unique individual on their own journey, and in loving them, we also learn to love ourselves more fully. It is in this mutual recognition, in the sharing of our vulnerabilities and strengths, that love becomes the transformative force it was always meant to be. Through love, we are reminded that we are never truly alone, that we are always in the process of becoming, and that our connection to others is an essential part of our growth. When a man loves you, let me tell you, it is not about perfection or idealization, but about the deep, unwavering commitment to understanding and accepting each other in all of our complexity. It is an invitation to journey together in a way that is both freeing and empowering. Love is not the destination, it is the path that we walk side by side, in its beauty and in its challenges, with the understanding that in every step we discover more of who we truly are. And in that discovery we find the strength, the courage, and the wisdom to live a life full of connection, meaning, and endless possibility. Thank you.